Good morning, and a word of welcome to Vladimir Ryabinin, Executive Secretary, IOC of UNESCO, Andrew Hudson, Head of Water and Ocean Governance of UNDP, Lisa Svensson, Director of Marine and Coastal Ecosystems Branch of UNEP, Jacqueline Alder, Deputy Director of Fisheries and Aquaculture of FAO, Ambassador of Sweden, Cecilia Julen, and all ambassadors and consul generals that may be here, representatives of government, private sector, and then distinguished guests, colleagues and friends. I'm here on behalf of Nosipho Ngaba, who is the Director General of the Department of Environmental Affairs. She's at the moment out of the country. She left on the weekend. I think there's a Jeff Council meeting right now in DC, so that's where she is. She's given me the responsibility of her responsibilities for the week, so I'm here in her capacity. And really what my task here this morning is to welcome you to the mother city, Cape Town, our mother city. And we hope that you really have an opportunity to not only have very good deliberations, but also have an opportunity to see the city and see the surrounds if possible. My name is Judy Beaumont, and I have recently taken over from Dr. Monde Maikiso as the Deputy Director General. I come from the climate change space. I was previously the Deputy Director General of Climate Change and Air Quality Management in the department. So this is a new community, and certainly a lot of different issues for me to start engaging with. I'm really excited about being here, about having this opportunity, but also excited because I think there are a lot of interlinkages between ocean governance and the climate change, international, regional, national climate change work that is ongoing. I think just to start with on a note that Cape Town and South Africa, with its abundance of natural beauty, is often chosen for its environmental spectrum, from mountains, biodiversity, ocean. At the same time, the city is right now experiencing a number of quite severe environmental pressures. The most critical one right up front and being discussed at every possible opportunity is the drought that is being experienced here in the Western Cape. It has broken in other parts of the country with very, very intense rainstorms. But I think as a winter rainfall area with a Mediterranean climate, we are extremely concerned that our dams are at 36%. At the end of the rainy season. This is really quite a first. So there is a sense that this is the new normal, and this is what has been predicted. These are the scenarios that have been predicted for the last 10, 15 years, and we're starting to really experience what this means, and how as a city and as a province and as a country we need to respond. Then returning to the subject matter of the meeting here, Cape Town is also at the confluence of the three major oceans, the Atlantic, the Indian and the Southern Ocean, around the Antarctic, placing the country at a very strategic geographical position for exploring the ocean space to increase understanding of dynamics and linkages through enhanced scientific activity. Certainly, strong science leads to more effective ocean governance, economic opportunities and development of those opportunities, and better understanding of the links with climate change. And I think that those linkages are not only from the perspective of ocean acidification, sea level rise, impacts on marine biodiversity, but also from the perspective of links with and impact on the overall global climate system. Indeed, also the essence of this partnership meeting, as we've already heard, is that enhanced science through partnerships between governments, business, civil society is really absolutely key to a world that is increasingly complex. We recognize that understanding the complexities of the ocean space and ensuring good management and custodianship of the ocean is not something one country can do on its own, or indeed that a region can do independently. And it requires all of us to put our heads together, and hence the purpose of this meeting. While the economic potential of ocean resources is increasingly being exploited and utilized, the impact of this activity, as well as the impact of land-based activity and the consequent fragility of the oceans, I think is increasingly being understood, researched, and built, and needs to be increasingly built into ocean governance programs. Ambassador, you spoke about microplastics, and we have recently had a most alarming incident. On the 10th of October, there was a very severe storm in KwaZulu-Natal, in Durban. You might have actually seen pictures of ships that were lifted by the storm, and they almost looked as though they'd been lifted and placed on the quayside. And in that process, a lot of containers were lost into the Durban harbour. And a number of those containers held nurdles. Now, I have to confess that I had not before heard of a nurdle. How many people know what a nurdle is? Okay. I'm glad that I'm not the only one that doesn't know about nurdles. I had to Google it. A nurdle is a very tiny piece of plastic, which is the feedstock, essentially, of plastic productivity, and creates container loads of these very tiny microplastics. Found their way into the harbour, into the sea, and the next thing, we had a crisis on our hands with the ocean currents taking the nurdles both north and south. And on Friday last week, we got the first reports of the nurdles all the way down here in the Western Cape. We've been having reports as they came south, further south, and we have a team of people, in fact teams of people out there trying to clean it up. It is no mean feat. It is a difficult exercise. We've had to create special equipment to sift these nurdles out of the sand each time the tide brings them up. We have no idea what the impact is going to be on marine life. We suspect that it's going to be severe. But just to say, we are living in a complex world, and these are materials that I think we have not really previously thought through what the impact could be. South Africa has decided through the ocean economy PAKISA. PAKISA is a term, it means hurry up, literally means push forward and hurry up. The Ocean Economy PAKISA program to pursue a marine spatial planning approach in order to move towards integrated ocean management and to promote coexistence of the diverse and often competitive activities in the ocean. Our marine spatial planning legislation is currently being debated in Parliament, and we hope that it will be adopted by early next year. And really, at its heart, it is a legal instrument that facilitates a negotiation of use of the ocean space. In addition, we've proposed a network of 22 marine protected areas for protection of ecosystems, critically endangered habitats and species. And this network overlaps with 14 out of the 16 identified ecologically and biologically sensitive areas. The network will certainly contribute to achieving the global target under the Convention of Biodiversity of 10% in marine protection. It's a complex exercise. We are in the midst of the negotiation process, and it's really a negotiation involving a set of existing claims on and uses of the marine space. And I think it's not only existing but also hoped for future claims. So it's a very competitive and difficult conversation, in fact. But it's a conversation that is brought to the surface and really made explicit a lot of the competing uses that previously have not been that explicit. And it's only once it's explicit that you can engage with it, name it, and start determining how best to manage those different uses. Our ocean policy aims at developing an ocean economy balanced by strong environmental management objectives. And this is a message that we carry with us in international and regional forums, particularly in the region where we've just taken chairship of the Indian Ocean Rim Association, that at the last meeting placed ocean economy as a priority. And within our understanding, sound ocean governance cannot proceed without sound scientific information that's got to be collected in a systematic way around the world. And it's a challenge for the developing world, particularly also in Africa, where routine scientific information gathering is sometimes quite sparse. And global programs often neglect the fact that in order to be effective, we've got to have all countries taking part, engaging actively, producing the science. Otherwise we end up with data gaps or incomplete analysis, and I think that is a really critical part of the conversation that here in the next couple of days. And for this region, regional partnerships such as the Large Marine Ecosystems Program and regional fisheries programs focus on common regional priorities. And the success of multilateral organizations present here, such as GEF, IOC, UNDP, FAO, and UNEP, will depend on how successful regions are and how successfully regions respond and implement global programs achieved through partnerships around common goals and objectives that are responding to regional priorities. I think then just lastly, sharing of best practice across different organizations, across different partnership initiatives, and identifying new modalities that apply to science, implementation of common approaches, etc., must lead to improved ocean governance and improved efforts towards achieving, as you said, Ambassador, the Sustainable Development Goal 14. And certainly as we collectively head towards 2030, which is not that far around the corner, it's really in terms of science terms, it's not far away. We've got to put heads together. I think in closing, I really wish you well over the next week and the 2 meetings here in Cape Town. I look forward to, or we look forward to, the recommendations and mechanisms of implementation and institutional arrangements across the various bodies that are gathered here. We've had really great results from regional collaboration and partnerships in both the Benguela Current Commission as well as the Agalis Somali Large Marine Ecosystem. And certainly we still need to achieve a lot more, and I really hope that you are able to have robust discussions and you're also able to find the time to see a little bit of the city and possibly the country. Thank you very much.